Howdy YouTubers. It's a crisp 20 something degrees here in the Midwest, and I'm loving it. Just totally enjoy it. But I did want to just address something that some of you guys always ask me. It's how do you drop a dumpster without damaging the driveway? Are you ever worried about damaging the driveway? Does it concern you, the blah 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 blah? Yeah, so I always do try to avoid damaging a driveway. I mean, I don't want to get that reputation. And the one thing is, you can always read the room when you show up, right? So sometimes you'll show up to drop a dumpster and the person does not give a absolute care in the world about their driveway. And that's cool. That, you don't have to take the time to, lay something down to protect the driveway or be super, super careful. You should always be careful, but you don't have to be crazy about it. But the one thing that I will say is, every once in a while you'll come across a Karen, whether the driveway is in good shape or not, and you'll see that they do not want an absolute scratch. They could have the most clapped out driveway in the world, but if you scratch it, they're going to let you know. And then of course sometimes you might deliver to some multi-million-dollar houses and they definitely care. Whether they say they do or not, they care. So do not damage that driveway. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So these right here, I guess you could call it damage, but honestly they come out after a while. So I've dropped a dumpster here every once in a while, and if I'm in a hurry, I don't lay anything down, but I usually try to lay stuff down. And I usually drop something here at my house before I head over to my property because it's a little farther away, and then I take whatever dumpsters I have left at the end of the day, I take over to my property. That way they're out of the way, my wife can park in the garage. And as you'll notice, I like this one right here. This is my magic device, guys. This is how I keep from hurting my driveway. It's as simple as that, and I'll show you exactly how I do it. So since I'm at my multi-million-dollar house, 1.8 million, no, it's not even close. Don't think that I'm like that. We're gonna see if we can protect my driveway by dropping a dumpster real quick. So I'll show you the simple way to do it. At the end of the day, the dumpster will be sitting on this single block of wood in the back. And the cool thing is, there's a bunch of fancy, designs you can come up with to actually protect driveways. But at the end of the day, 2x4s are awesome because, or 2x6s, because they don't take up a lot of room. I have a bunch of these cut up and I keep them in the back of my truck, but then I always have one or two really long ones in the back of the truck, but I don't want to carry a bunch of long ones with me that I'm hauling in and out of my truck because that takes up more room. But I'll show you exactly how I do it. The other thing is you can use horse mats. I've seen strips that people cut off of like those rubber horse mats, or those things that you'd use when you're deadlifting and you drop your weights on the ground. You can cut those into strips, and you could also use plywood. At one point I was using like shingle roofing underlayment, like the waterproofing stuff. So that was like tarping. That was actually pretty nice because it would prevent those little scratches you saw in the driveway, and it didn't take up hardly any room, and I used those until they eventually ripped. Those are actually really handy. Pretty incredible that they hold up pretty well. But let's go ahead and just do a quick demonstration. Some of you guys already know where this is going. Some of you guys also have used plywood. But the thing I don't like about plywood or the horse mats really is if I'm also dropping in grass or gravel, they tend to still get kind of hung up. The nice thing about the 2x4 or 2x6 is it stays pretty flat. Your plywood and stuff will bend, and your horse mats will kind of follow curves. The 2x4s can kind of create, a pretty consistent space. And then when you're parking it on grass, it's really nice because when you leave that 2x4 back there at the end of the day, when you come back, if it's wet or anything, at least your rollers have not sunk into the ground. They're not going to cause any issues when you're trying to get it out. As long as your truck isn't sinking too, you should be fine when you go to pick it up. All right, so I'm going to try to do this with one hand because, of course, it's now too cold to use my remote on my winch. I don't know why it does it. I'm probably going to need to look into a different one because it's very inconvenient when I have to use the wired system. I'm not a huge fan of it. because I like to be able to walk around my trailer when I'm dropping, but it is what it is, so I'll try to do this with one hand and make it work. Though, I set the pieces of 2x4s a little farther out, that way that I can kind of finagle this as I let the winch out. I also use my hydraulic lift, and you'll see the wheels just kind of start to scoot out. I kind of bounce it a little bit, that way if the rails are sticky or they're not greased up real nice, see, it starts to roll out a little bit. Well, that kind of defeated the purpose of this. Like I said, guys, I'm doing this one hand. Oh my gosh, I cracked my driveway. Oh no, what am I gonna do? Not worried about it. All right, so it's gonna be kind of slow while I'm doing this with one hand. But what I'll do is I'll get it so it's about over top of there, and then again, kind of shake it out. Oh man, this is a challenge with one hand. All right, so we're now over top of the 2x4s. The cool thing is, you'll notice that my 2x4s aren't the length of my dumpster. Those are probably about 10 to 12 feet, and the dumpster's 14 foot. So we know it's gonna fall short, right? But that's actually the point. That's exactly why I do that. And I'll show you why. Ooh, it's making nice sounds. Probably need to grease some things. Oh look, a squirrel. All right, so we're raising it up. You see it's rolling on there. No scratches on Karen's driveway today at her multi-million-dollar house. So this is definitely pretty self-explanatory. So you see this, what happens if you guys ever get your winch up like that, or your trailer up like that, and the winch doesn't want to start to let the dumpster down. What I do is I take this and I kind of bounce it, and eventually you see the wheels start to move again, and then you move back to your winch. And again, when it's cold, guys, this definitely gets a little harder to do. Again, one hand. Hopefully this isn't like watching paint dry. So we can see that the rope's pretty, or the cable's pretty taut. You can see it's getting loose again. So that means inside these rails, it's cold, it's not greased very well right now. So again, we'll go back, we'll bounce this, and we're pretty much at that steep angle now where it should just start to roll out. If you do this a lot, you definitely can figure this out. You start to get a feel for how your trailer and your dumpsters like to work. Ooh, we need some grease. Oh my goodness. Imagine doing this at 5 a.m. next to your neighbor. They don't like it. So we don't want it to fall off the end, or it defeats the whole purpose of these 2x4s when that thing comes crashing down, right? So what we do now is we go back to the truck. We'll grab a couple of these shorties, and I probably put it a little too close, so we might need more than one. But the idea is we want this to essentially stop on this 2x4, so that's all we leave behind, so people aren't tripping. The last thing you want is a tripping hazard on your dumpster when you leave, right? Because that would just create a potential lawsuit. So again, we're gonna let this out a little bit. Like I said, those are pretty short 2x4s, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go get a couple more of them. Oh, might be a little ill-prepared for the video, but you know what? This is what you get for cheap entertainment, right? So, we're gonna go slap these down. Ooh, wow, talk about cutting it close. All right, put this one right here. All right. Woo. Oh, we're so close, guys. I'm gonna do it just to be safe. I'm gonna go move this. Again, doing this one-handed, normally we would have this measure out a little bit better. Oh. Oh. All right, that'll definitely be good. So then, we know this is about towards the end. So to protect the driveway even more, we get these 2 blocks right here. I always try to get blocks that are the same size, but then have 2x4s in case the driveway, the grass, or the gravel is uneven. That way I can kind of even out the dumpster so it's not all bound up when I drop it. Because even though this is metal, these things will flex and bind up, and when you go to pick them up and they're all bound up, it creates problems. Just like that, we're dropped. Slacked cable. Then what you do, we got that 2x4 there. This one is clear actually. I'd probably leave this here because it's too close for comfort for me. You go ahead and you pick up your long ones. You load them back up in your truck. So really in your truck, you only need to have I usually have about 4 long ones of these 2x4s, but really you could get away with 2. And then just a bunch of 1-foot pieces, and then those blocks. So that's just one way I do it. We'll go ahead and we'll show you 1 or 2 more ways that I drop these dumpsters. See, this one's actually sitting between, so not ideal. What I would normally do then is move that block right there back a couple feet, and then I would actually put the truck in reverse and back the truck up so it was sitting on only 1 block. But this is my house. I'm not worried about it, and I'm gonna come back and pick this dumpster up and take it over to my warehouse later. That way it's not in my way. My wife can park in the garage, and happy wife, happy life. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Another thing you could use, just while I'm thinking about it, to protect a driveway, say you're in a tough spot and you just didn't bring the wood, something happened, whatever, and you've just got a super Karen who's really worried about a driveway, you should always have rescue straps in your truck. So if you have to, it's a really nice smooth driveway. In a pinch, one time I did use rescue straps. It didn't hurt them, I mean seriously, and I just rolled it down on the rescue straps. So use whatever you have to protect those driveways, because last thing you want is somebody calling with a lawsuit that you cracked their driveway, you scratched their driveway, and now they want a whole new driveway at their beautiful house. So just keep it in mind. It's all about prevention, loss prevention in your case, because you're not trying to lose money, you're trying to make money. I recall that I've got a dumpster to go pick up. It's actually a roof. There's about 32 square, so it'll be a little heavy, but it's not unmanageable by any means. The one thing I noticed for sure is one of my tires is a little flatter than all the others. So I highly suggest getting one of these bad boys. They're like 20 bucks. Seriously, $20. Maybe 24 bucks wherever you're at. And of course the Ryobi battery costs more, but they now come with a digital reader and they're super handy. I burned one out. I had one for about a year and I finally broke it. But I probably used it 100 times, easy, topping off my tires or fixing a flat on the side of the road because I already had a flat and I didn't have a spare anymore. So I plugged it and then pumped it up. These things are beasts. They just keep going. And I don't like to pull the trigger and hold it. So what I do is I tie a cable around it or use a bungee cord to hold that thing down. Super handy. Oh yeah, I'd say she was a bit low for sure. So that one's at about 80 PSI. So I definitely have a leak in here. It's probably a screw. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get it pumped up. If this thing is still low when I get over to the tire or to the to pick up the dumpster, what I'll probably do is just slap the spare on. But if it lasts, it might just be a slow leak, and what I'll do is I'll just get it to the dump and then take care of it tonight, less I have to worry about in the middle of the day. But I mean, like I said, this thing is a beast. It pumps up pretty quick. I just gotta hope that the tire holds up until the end of the day. So anytime that it's really heavy, of course it warmed up a little bit now, so the winch remote is working. I actually try to back it up underneath of it. I put it in neutral. That way I don't wear and tear the winch so much. This one is pretty heavy, but it's loading it. Tire's a little low right there. But anytime you can back it up, you want to be close to that door, keep it open in case you got to jump in, slam the brakes. Other thing I do on heavy loads is I always leave those blocks of wood underneath of it. And even sometimes I scoot them back, because if worst case scenario, that cable ever snapped, the last thing you want it to do is fall on the concrete all the way. You know, you want it to be, you want that impact to be absorbed a little bit. See, we're a little close to the end here, so you gotta watch. I don't want this thing sliding back into their house. I don't want this thing falling off the dumpster. There's a lot of things to watch out for. You want to keep it centered in the rail, so you need to make sure your tires are nice and straight. A lot of factors happening on this load. And I'm filming, which isn't smart, but I'm here for your entertainment. Hopefully nothing terrible happens. But this crew over here, they already got the whole roof torn off. They've had this dumpster a little longer than anticipated. They got it waterproof, but they still need to get the shingles up. All right, so it's starting to get up onto the rails, but I still don't want to load it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tilt her back a little bit more. I wait until pretty much the very end to actually lift it off the ground, because then of course the truck starts to move forward again. So we're gonna wanna go get in the truck and put it in park here in a second, and then finish it out. Alright, tilt it one more time. I'm gonna get a little closer to the cab because, like I said, I don't want this thing to roll on me. Alright. We're gonna put it in park, just like that. Alright, see, it's now rolling a little bit. Now you can kind of drop this thing down. That way you're not pulling it uphill anymore. Get that cylinder closed all the way. And then now we're going to winch that bad boy in the rest of the way. Get it locked up, get it tarped, and get it to the dump. Just like that, driveway safe. Winch is saved from some struggle. Make the longevity of your equipment last. We're good to go. Oh, I came up with a cool idea. Last second, I might need to make a product. Ooh, rolling operations. A good product name for something. I'm sure somebody's already come up with it, but I promise you I'm making it in the most redneck way possible. Give me just a second. Woohoo! Oh, that blade's not dull. Not one bit. Watch your toes. Oh man, I can't wait till some of you boomers come at me for my safety habits there and using the right tools. But I've got an idea and I couldn't help but try to get it done before it gets too dark out. So here's the prototype. Yep, it's nothing special. Just $1 million product, that's all. I wonder if my wife will be upset that I cut up the new tire though. We'll see. All right, so you'll notice that sometimes I like to have my truck drive underneath the trailer. What you might not have seen me do sometimes is I actually let the truck roll away from the trailer sometimes, especially in gravel and grass, when I am lowering the dumpster onto the driveway or wherever I'm dropping it. But the thing is, when it's a flat concrete surface, you can't really just let it roll away because your truck might roll away. So what I'm gonna do here is put something to the test. So we're gonna take this right here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna set it, this roller, right into that pocket right there. And we're doing this real time, people, so this might not work at all. I don't know, but I think it will. And this is a test. Obviously I would have cut two, but this took way too long with, you know, all those proper tools I had. So let's see what happens. And I've let the winch out a little bit. Okay, could have been a bigger tire, but let's see what happens. I let the winch out a little bit. Interesting. All right. Go put it in drive, or in neutral. Straighten the wheel out a little bit. All right. From there, look at that. It's basically stopping the truck just enough so my truck doesn't roll out there in the street. Notice how my wheels turned a little bit there. So what we'll do is we'll crank that up a little bit higher. We'll straighten this wheel back out. Oh, that's why. All right. Sorry for all the back and forth. That's awesome. It's not rolling off that tire, and if I had 2 of them, it would be even more sturdy. And this just makes it easier on some of my equipment, and sometimes you don't have much of a choice. You have to roll these out like that. Huh. And notice I'm not rolling it on the concrete here, so I'm not leaving any inappropriate lines, which, by the way, guys, these really do come out with a power washer, so they're not that bad. But that's kind of nice. I like it. At the end of the day, you have them sign a contract that basically says, I'm not responsible for any damages that happen in your driveway. You need to make sure I have an appropriate place to put it, yada, yada, yada. Any good lawyer can get past a good written contract or a poorly written contract that somebody signs or acknowledges. So just make sure you still get it done. That way people do acknowledge the fact that, yeah, I told you you could do it, despite the fact that it might not have worked out perfectly. And at the same time, make sure you're going to the extra mile to, you know, take care of it. So I think I proved my point with this little rubber idea. Maybe I'll make a little product. I don't know, not really. I probably won't, too busy. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna just get this loaded up. I was just doing that for a demonstration. I'm gonna get this out to my warehouse, get this set because I don't need the 20 for a couple days, and I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my evening. So if you guys like the video, I know this was kind of all over the place, but like, subscribe, follow for future stuff. I'll have something to ramble on about next time. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have a good one.